A very good evening and welcome to the Fourth Estate. Newsrooms have been working and reworking their deadlines, reworking their lead stories for tomorrow, following sudden developments over the last 24 hours or more. And we'll start with that. I believe we'll have one of the most exciting shows. The return or unexpected return of David Sejusa, formerly known as David Sejusa. He was former head of He was former coordinator of intelligence agencies. He ran away in April last year, allegedly because he had revealed some information or called for some information and gave a series of interviews when he was away in exile in London. He made a sensational return Sunday morning, touching down at Entebbe at 3:14 a.m. We'll be discussing that tonight. We'll also continue to discuss the National Resistance Movement holding its delegates conference tomorrow. It has been today discussing in the National Executive Committee, and on Saturday there was a long meeting that ended around midnight of the Central Executive Committee. Did Amama Mbabazi storm out of that meeting or not? Why did he? Why? If he did, why did he? Let me introduce the colleagues I have on the show. Let me start with Chris Obore, because Chris told people, don't get excited about Sejusa. Now he feels very vindicated that Sejusa had made a late night return. Chris, very nice to have you.
Thank you.
Morrison Rakakamba has been very busy accrediting delegates and coordinating for the delegates conference tomorrow, the National Executive Committee that happened throughout today. And I think some of it is still going on now.
Yeah, the meeting of the National Executive Committee is going on.
And the Central Executive Committee. Morrison, very nice to have you.
Thank you, Charles.
And as senior as they come, Bernard Tabaire from the African Center for Media Excellence. Bernard, always a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Bernard, let me start with you on the question of David Sejusa. It is the biggest story. It's the biggest story in the country. How were the media shortchanged on this story? Because I have been told if Sejusa made any calls, or people who knew about this made any calls, it was when he was already at Heathrow.
So what are you asking? How did the media not know that he was planning to come?
Yes.
Well, I think Chris Obore there is in the media. He should tell us when he first knew about this. But I think it was going to be difficult for the media to have a good sense of actually what was going on, unless somebody here in government was who was privy to the arrangements was leaking the information. So we don't have correspondence in the UK or anything like that. So it's very difficult. And we don't monitor actually all of these Ugandans, key Ugandans who are quote unquote in exile or who are allegedly plotting to remove President Museveni from power. If you had that sort of structure and system, possibly you'd have a better chance of knowing what's going on. But also, I think for a lot of Ugandans, including a lot of people in the media, had simply accepted the idea that Sejusa had gone into exile, he's hell-bent on overthrowing President Museveni. After all, he had made common cause, or seemed to make common cause with Ugandans in exile who are planning to overthrow President Museveni. The statements was making and all of that. So I don't think any journalist was really actively thinking about the possibility that that he would either quote-unquote switch sides, or maybe he was just an intelligence operation, and his operation was an intelligence operation, as Morrison was saying before we came on air. So I think there was that deliberate lack of clarity, and you needed to be really plugged into the intelligence system here, the top government
we thought the media would be
system here to be able to... Sorry?
When he wrote his letter that led to the closure of Monitor in May last year, he hand-wrote the letter. No, he first hand-wrote a number of notes. Then he wrote that letter to Ronnie Valia, the head of Internal Security Organization.
Who picked him up
yes,
this
was
morning
at the
at the
to pick
drove him away
yes.
In his car to his farm.
Yes. It looks like it was a huge and very well-organized operation. And he kept communicating with the media all the time he was in London. How did he cut that communication?
Well, but look at it. First of all, it's not just Sejusa. There's another very interesting Ugandan actually in London who abandoned the army, abandoned his job and fled. But actually, he's doing, I think, some very interesting work for the Ugandan government. But most of us think since he ran away from, he absconded from duty. He's therefore, he went rogue. He's in the opposition. But look,
who's that Ugandan?
when Sejusa was leaving, he told...
Can you name the Ugandan?
When Sejusa was leaving, he told, I think about a week before, there's a friend of mine in intelligence who said, well, he called him and said, there's going to be something very interesting, just watch this space. And he left and the letter came out and there was all of that. And some people quite knew that this wasn't what it seemed to be now. It seemed to have taken longer. I think people were hoping that at least within 2013, maybe he would come back and whatever. But the longer he stayed away, the more people even who had some sort of doubt began to relax and say, this is gone, this is a gone case. This man is the opposition. He's actively planning to you know, participate in the change, constitutional or otherwise, change of government in Kampala. So that, because he's been away for what, almost a year and a half. Yeah. Okay. So people had sort of given up, and the journalists also bought into that. As now we know, obviously, the timing of the return, I think, is something that we should talk about.
Hold it right there. Let's bring in the political actor, Morrison Wakakamba. Morrison, you've been touting people, especially a man or woman, I don't know, someone prominent on social media called TVO, Tom Voltaire Okwalinga, and another one called Maverick Shaka, about this Sejusa story. Was Sejusa on operation in London? How was his return negotiated?
Well, what I want to say is, first of all, when Sejusa left, nobody had harassed him. He left on his own volition. And as we know now, and the country knows, he has returned on his own volition back to...
Is it on his own volition?
Back to his country.
No, you don't return on your own volition.
No, the point I'm making is...
And you're received by the Director General of Internal Security Organization. You're received by...
But he left when he was the head of intelligence services. And he's back and received by intelligence services. Is it funny?
I think it is.
No, it's not. And what we are saying is he left on his own volition. He was not harassed. And if he has any issues and anybody feels that he broke any law, we have got a competent legal justice system in place. And if he has some issues where he disagreed with...
Morrison.
If he disagreed with anybody on any issue, that he makes a decision to pursue dialogue is also a very good thing. So I don't think we should be excited about anything.
I know as an assistant to the president on research, you are entitled to do the political work that you're doing. But help our viewers understand exactly how this was negotiated, because it's not accidental that he shows up at Entebbe in the morning of Sunday.
No.
And he's received the way he was received, given what he has been saying and what other people have been saying about him. There must have been a negotiation. How long did it take?
No, dialogue happens all the time. And you know dialogue is the bedrock of the NRM government.
So who was...
And I can tell you when NRM reached in 1986, it converged and brought in the Kawanga Semo galleries and had a conversation.
Chris,
a broad-based...
Morrison is not going to help us understand.
No, a broad-based conversation. And let me tell you that disagreeing, contestation is what happens in the NRM.
Yes, but you're not giving us information.
What I'm telling you is that dialogue is a permanent principle of the NRM.
Chris, you told people on this show, you said on other platforms that you have, that this Sejusa story is something you don't need to take very seriously. So you must be one of the most vindicated individuals, saying that he made a return, was received by intelligence, and he went back to his farm in Zimbabwe. By the way, we'll be sharing a little bit of what he said when he did speak to the media today. What exactly, when did we know that something was cooking? Is it when he became too silent?
Given that in Uganda these days, people desire a change in government to the point that anything that they see to be helping them, they embrace it without analysis. That's what happened to the Sejusa. When you began saying, you look, this guy is not, are you the government payroll? Are you hate Sejusa? That's that word used now. Why do you hate so-and-so? You saying what somebody is amounts to hate. Hate is all over social media. But President Museveni is a very bad man. So bad that if we had wished, he would have ruled Uganda for only 2 years and left. But you again have to admit that even in his badness, the way he weaves his tricks, you are left in the awe and just admire the guy. The guy has mastered the art of doing his game. You give it to him. So that's why Uganda continuously, he keeps on, you think he has become so weak. Then the man emerges very strong. Sejusa story, I learned of it 2 weeks ago. It came out very clearly 2 weeks ago that there was a negotiation. But again, and you must credit General Salim Saleh in all of this game. And Sejusa even tried to hide away from London. He gave them 4 different locations to meet him. Finally, he agreed, and he met the Saleh, and they talked. And I must tell you basically that his return actually is based on comradeship grounds. If what we are getting is true, but actually the winter was becoming winter for Sejusa. It was terrible for him in the UK. And they had gone into other behavior that these people feared, that if anything happened to him in London, it will be embarrassing to a colleague who has been with us in the struggle. So Saleh intensifies the negotiations. And then when Museveni went to UK, he simply said, but tell me who else you have misled and trying to disorganize my government. So once that was sorted, and it was clear to come home.
So the arrest of this businessman, Bhutto, the other day, was it linked?
That is just local politics here.
Maybe
So you see, the Museveni said, tell me, and the confession is start. And with the Museveni, once the confessions are done, whatever you do after, he doesn't mind. And what he wanted, he has got. So he has the file, he has everything. The procedures started. That was 2 weeks ago. But yesterday, I got to know it about 3, around 2 p.m.
When he was landing or had just...
no, before he had left London, 2 p.m. that is coming today. The other journalist who was the first to know about the things, Ivan Okuda, young man. Somebody said, now, what do you do with such a story? You say he's coming, at this time in the night he doesn't come. The next morning, Ugandans will tear a monitor apart. Say, this fellow's speculation. So we said, let's just wait. That's why you saw that they were at the airport at very early. We had known that he was coming. But events before that actually is, some believe that it is Museveni. Saleh told the president it's not correct. Because others believe that he was wasting away. When he went silent, he was wasting away in London. So it was not good to allow a comrade to waste away.
I have been told, the other version I've been told is that actually, one he called a very close relative of his to London, who arrived in London, part of what you're talking about as wasting away, but number 2, that he had run significantly short on cash, and so he needed some intervention.
All
and
of
then
that
the relatives came and started doing the
all of that is about
Saleh and
wasting away. Others say at the beginning we began locking himself alone in the house. So that kind of thing. I notice winter, many things can happen.
Then we take a break.
What I wanted to say is that this excitement that comes with a number of Ugandans when some people are supposedly critics or enemies of Museveni, without clearly reflecting on the people who are leading that agenda, is for me what is embarrassing for most people. Because I mean, what if General Sejusa, as a master spy, was doing an operation for government? This TVO that many people follow, what if he's doing?
You're just blackmailing TVO.
No. What if he's doing work for government? So what I'm saying is, no. The point I'm making,
trying to make politicians TVO.
Is that the strategy committee's decision to spin
No.
Is that what you have decided to do?
Not at all. What we are trying to say is that before we follow people blindly, or before we believe in their blackmail and schemes, Museveni Agende things, we need to first reflect. Are they telling the truth? Are they authentic? Are they credible?
How would you respond? How would you respond?
So there is a need for deeper
how would you
analysis.
respond?
It's interesting to take that deep analysis somewhere, because even
It's
this
very
wasting
important.
away, whatever, it might be, because for me it's just the timing. He arrives today, and tomorrow is the delegates conference. Who else, whose other agenda are you toying with? Should we, the whole point is really, should then people believe that Amama Mbabazi will do what people think he's going to do, or is it part of an operation? Is it part of an intelligence operation?
We shouldn't be quick.
So that is really the whole point.
And follow certain people.
After a short
Not at
commercial
all.
break, we'll be right back.
Babas is different.
Who told you?
Sejusa makes a sensational return in the dead of the night. The timing of the return, just before he touched down at Entebbe Airport. A few hours before that, Secretary General of the National Resistance Movement, Amama Mbabazi, who many people expect will make a major announcement tomorrow, I doubt he will make that announcement, stormed out of the Central Executive Committee meeting. Shortly after that, when discussion started, he sent tweet messages, a number of tweet messages, denying that he had stormed out, him and his wife, Jacqueline Mbabazi, who is the lead of the Women's League. He had stormed out of the meeting, but he claimed that he had walked out only because he wanted to study the document that had been presented, that no one else had read the document before. But that coinciding with the return of Sejusa. But now let me come back to you on this. Accident?
No, I don't think so. For me, that's the most. As a political junkie from the sidelines, I'm not like Morrison here, who is now playing in the first 11. Just being a spectator, I find this very, I think, very rich and very interesting. So my sense is to really Sejusa's return has caused doubt amongst a lot of people. So was he genuine in his statements that he wants to see a change of government here, or was he a government operation? And
what he said today, he said he was genuine.
So that is one. So people are not quite sure. And I think that's a sort of message that is going to be transferred, and which I think the Morrison's one transferred toward the whole Mbabazi, the talk surrounding Mbabazi. Will he actually, resign from the party? Whether he resigns or not, will he actually announce that he's going to run for president or not, whether he does it tomorrow or on Tuesday. But whatever he does, let's say he announces that he's going to run, there will be doubt among his people now and say, is he actually genuine? Is he for real? Or is it just another operation that a few months down the road, we'll see him come back to the fold? Or even play it all the way to election time, and after elections, he's brought back into the fold. I mean, we've seen with people like Kategaya before, the late, may his soul rest in peace. And so you're just never quite sure now who is for real and who is not for real when they say they're opposed to Yoweri Museveni and they're taking action about that, their opposition.
Morrison.
Yes.
You said Sejusa was an operation. What kind of operation was he?
Well, I told you that Sejusa was a head of intelligence services. He went to London on his own volition, and when he was there, we know that the diaspora opposition based in Sweden, based in Denmark, based in the UK, we have, has smoldered or collapsed. We have seen even the methodical Sam Akachi resigning from the FDC. He is back, but I am saying, what if it was?
No, you said he was an operation.
I said what if. I was very clear. What if it was an operation? So this is why I think Ugandans and elites, this whirlwind of whoever says I'm against Museveni moving and getting excited without really reflecting on the issues is, for me, a very serious problem for this country. Let's focus on working for progress of this country, but not going through this whirlwind of whoever says something bad or regime change in Uganda.
You're part of the operation that has been working to make sure that Mbabazi has no room anywhere around the delegates conference.
No, not at all. Honorable Amam Mbabazi is a delegate because he's the MP for Chinchiz West. He's a substantive Secretary General on leave. So he will certainly
on forced leave.
He will be in he will be in Ambole. But if the decisions that will be made, especially
has he been part of the NEC today?
Well, I know he was part of SEC yesterday, which is the Central Executive Committee, and he walked out after a vote that agreed with the president that the Secretary General should be appointed.
Agreed with the president or the party chairman?
The party chairman is the president.
Okay.
You cannot take that away from him. Otherwise, 68% of Ugandans will be very, very angry with you. But what I can tell you is that matter, the president made sure that it was decided democratically at SEC level. There was a vote. So if you don't agree,
Jackie didn't agree.
If you don't agree with the vote, why should you walk out? If you are a Democrat, you agree that I have lost in this. Let's move to the next agenda. Okay. You really don't walk out. So if you are an authentic Democrat, you don't walk out from a democratic process.
So can you confirm, did he storm out or did he just leave?
Well, it's about the choice of words.
Chris.
Yes.
This whole timing, when the SEC has been meeting, it had just passed a vote, I know Mzee was being informed at every stage. Now the plane has reached here. They were doing the tracking. And then Mbaba's apparently storming out of the meeting and the delegates conference that's happening tomorrow. Coincidence?
How I wish I could meet Saleh to tell me exactly what magic he used to convince his brother and eventually Sejusa to come back. Of course, some people say they understand their comrade to also suffer mood swings most times. So I think they are sympathetic to him because maybe he's running away because the mood swings at that time were telling him that, please, I'm uncomfortable. And remember, Sejusa left at the time when his budget had been dramatically cut. So perhaps part of the reason why he had to take off. But my mind tells us that it is important for Uganda to begin ridiculing people of dishonest like Sejusa. And unfortunately, the society celebrates them because they give you a promise that they are getting Museveni out. There are boys up to now in Makinde in prison because they allegedly worked with Sejusa. People have suffered. What happens? Like I said before, the man negotiates coming back. We do not yet know how much money has been promised to get to settle him. Maybe the mood swings have cooled.
Oh,
so this playing people up and down and using taxpayers' resources, exposing other people to danger when you are safe, is very dangerous. Even when he was leaving.
Morrison says that possibly he was on deployment on an operation
not
in
at all, not at all. I've told you.
To dismantle the opposition
Morrison is trying to make you say, don't believe in TVO, don't believe in anybody else. That is his duty. I am simply saying this was a negotiated return. This was something out of one feeling for their comrade. Because life was becoming hard. I'm telling you, it's nothing difficult in this world than living outside home. If you have been used to privileged life, like Sejusa.
Now,
you wouldn't manage the Bush days, I'm telling you.
Two quick things, Chris. One is why arrive on Saturday night, on Sunday morning actually, when the delegates conference is on Monday? Number two, what are the implications for any plans by Amama Mbabazi?
Why arrive? Of course, this was a state ceremony now. Sejusa's return was arranged. In that VIP lounge in Entebbe, there was Bakahumura of CMI, you know. There was Felix Kawesi. People were saying Kayihura didn't know. What? How can Kayihura not know? Kayihura is the one who chairs now all the security bosses in his office in Naguru, planning for the conference, doing everything. Because all of you said, oh, he's involved in the politicking. He has gone back to military work, chairing. And that's the man you're saying he doesn't know. So even leaving, they delayed it tactfully.
There was the CDF.
Yeah. There was Katiba Amala pretending to go to Nairobi. And you're seeing a man who was quoted.
So
who is
Sejusa?
Sure
He didn't go to Nairobi.
I don't know. There's a clip moving on radio. Who is Sejusa? But Wamala was meeting Sejusa in the VIP lodge in Entebbe. So when shall we stop being fooled around, Charles? So all I know is that the timing was allowed to be led to avoid any fanfare from any excited group. So actually, Sejusa did not sneak in. He has been sneaked in like a chicken thief. That don't come at your own time, come at our time.
No, but
the time was the time agreed by.
I know for a fact that you, Chris, are working late because you're trying to rework the analysis of Sejusa's return, which takes attention away from either Mbabazi storming out of the SEC meeting or if he has any plans for tomorrow.
If Sejusa came any other day, and if he came during the day, it would have aroused curiosity. And that was not wanted. It is supposed to be as unceremonial as possible. Allow him to go to his farm and make some few statements to confuse those who are willing to be confused again. But it was purely Museveni and his brother Saleh brokering and telling him, come home. And the relatives saw, why would we? In fact, for Museveni, if Sejusa got a problem in London, he would feel more burdened than when Sejusa gets a problem here. So after revealing and saying this is what happens, he's back. That's what he's celebrating. Because one of the conditions for Museveni to agree that who are those who are you working with to disturb government. And once that is done, the rest Saleh will sort out the logistics and the rest. Okay. Now the logistics are our money. What about Mbabazi now? I don't want to say Mbabazi is going to be suspect like Sejusa. But the truth is Mbabazi, even on his own merit, has taken a very dangerous political path. Why do I keep saying it? The mistake people who historically make, those who have been with Museveni, is to keep saying, you know, this is not what we studied before, this is not the Museveni we knew. Don't blame Museveni for your ignorance to know him. Museveni knows what he wants and how he goes for it. So Mbabazi is going to be reduced to a Twitter leader. I'm telling you, just like Museveni is simple, humble in Chiwatule. But he was a very powerful local government minister. Everybody said he's a Muganda. And Museveni now is settling his own problems.
Wasn't a
So
super,
I am assuring you, in Babasi, if
was.
he continues this way,
He wasn't a super minister, someone would
my
argue.
friend, he was the king of local government. And they said he has all the structures. Museveni has been depending on him. He was the king of what? Third term. No change. It was Bidandisali. It's gone.
I thought that's why he disagreed.
So Mama Mbabazi is going to remain a Twitter, Facebook, internet leader if he doesn't change his strategy. Yesterday, actually, people are even debating whether he's stormed out or not. I can tell you, Sam Ngola presented Parapera from northern Uganda. That's the time, actually, he stormed out. That see what Mbabazi has been doing in the north. Mbabazi for president. K from Mbabazi. What from Mbabazi? It was difficult to deny that. It is not just the amendment that he appointed Secretary General. There was evidence presented by a minister called Sam Ngola. He can call and deny whether you're lying. So when the evidence is piling against you like that, and they are making a resolution overwhelmingly that they should appoint Secretary General, Mbabazi has been sacked.
Okay.
If I were him, I would already move out.
I have been told that for about the last week,
But Chris,
there have been teams, but can I come to you in a moment, that there have been teams at a facility owned and controlled by Mbabazi working the delegates. 14 teams. The country divided in 14 regions, and every group is working on the delegates coming from there.
Working them to do what?
We're trying to mobilize for tomorrow's conference.
But who's clearing
How
them
far that
to
can
enter
go,
there?
how far that can go, I do not know. My suspicion is, and I have said it here before, the way Mbabazi has behaved over the year shows that even tomorrow we shall wait and it will be an anti-climax, and then he will say, wait for the next delegates conference. And then wait for the next delegates conference, nothing much happens, nothing much materializes. But Bernard, the timing, I want to come back to you on the question of the timing, because as a media practitioner, as an editor for many years, you know very well how the news is planned. Now everybody was planning analysis on the delegates conference. Which delegates are coming from where? Now you have to analyze how Sejusa made a return. What kind of negotiation he did. Who returned him. How did it?
Because when Morrison's side plays dirty against Amama's side, we won't pay too much attention to that. Maybe we might still be taken by Tinye's return. Tinye maybe tomorrow might even have another press conference and say something more startling that will, divert attention. Who knows? It's really difficult to predict until it won't be over, until it's over. But just to go back, Chris used words like, the evidence was presented against Mbabazi. And may I want to discuss a little bit just the principle of this. I think what we're interested in is that we want to see in our parties that when there's contest for positions, it's decent contest. Of course, there will be a bit of maneuvering here and there, underhand methods, which happens all over the world, politically speaking. But to somehow really turn somebody into an enemy, an opponent into an implacable enemy, not just a political opponent, but something worse. I think that is really what riles some Ugandans. And I think we have a stake in all of these parties, because if they came to government and they would be doing things in our name, they would be representing us. And I think that is really where it is, whether there was these capes and all of that. But why not? If I want a position, I have to mobilize. Why does that become creating cliques? Even the language that is used. I find that this very, very, very extremely unseemly.
Before even Morris comes in, before Morris comes in, you see, I agree with the message. We all want for decent politics. But I hope Bernard's message applies both to Museveni and to Mbabazi. Mbabazi actually turned also his opponents into terrible enemies, plucked their eyes out, beat them,
that's why I'm saying
I'm
raising a question of principle.
If he's sleeping on a bed he laid,
raising a question of principle, it applies across the board.
If Mbabazi is sleeping on a bed he laid, let him snore in it.
No, I just wanted to quip in and say that actually what is happening within NRM is about institutional strengthening and strengthening democracy on principle. To try and separate, and I mean, you guys are from the corporate governed bodies, where you have got a policy level and an administrative level. Administrators are appointed and supervised, and they implement the decisions of policymakers. That's why we want to make that position appointive. And now, you need to know that it was put to vote.
Yes.
And the majority democratically voted that that's how it should be. And we hope that tomorrow the delegates conference the delegates are going to vote on it and affirm it. And
So,
once they do it, that's a democratic process.
Apart from Mama and
Yes.
Jacqueline, who else voted against it?
No, nobody else.
Nobody
voted
else.
against it. And I need to tell you, and I really need to tell you that even those who are saying, you see, this destroys internal democracy in NRM, that's not true. Look at the entire geography and concentration of elections and contestation that happen in NRM primaries. Every village, every NRM position is contested heavily. Look at opposition. I mean, they actually appoint flag bearers. For us, our flag bearers, our primaries are the most contested primaries. I think not only in
why should
Uganda,
the Secretary
but
General
across
be a contested
no,
position?
because that's an administrative position. If you look at
But
Article 11,
Morrison.
if you look at Article 11 of NRM Constitution, it is very clear. All the laws and responsibilities, terms of reference.
So
You know,
why wasn't that article of the Constitution implemented from 2005?
this is
why
why
is this being implemented now?
this is why we have had challenges. The challenges of NRM are not ideological. The challenges of NRM are not about leadership, but administrative organs and structures. And this is the work of a chief executive officer.
Let me put
a
it
business-
Morrison,
no, no,
that
Morris,
you will
a
have your
business-
appointed
Morris,
Secretary General,
a business
but your
Secretary General
problems,
who can
your
deliver that.
problems, or what other people call contradictions within NRM won't go away.
Morrison,
Because you'll have an
they will.
appointed Secretary General
Because
who
now
also
we
wants
have-
the power,
No,
who
no,
wants to be a
we
chairman.
have a
So what will you
full-time
do about
who can
that?
be fired if he becomes if he or she becomes incompetent,
you don't
or will be rehired
you don't
if
realize-
he or she becomes competent.
Now,
And
Morrison,
because
Morrison,
he or she will be a
Charles,
full-time
Morrison,
chief executive
You don't
officer.
realize,
Charles, the
yes,
po- the
you don't
point here-
realize that
the
what you're doing is just getting more powers from the Secretary General, concentrating them in the chairman.
You see,
No, not
Charles,
at all. Because
Charles,
the chairman appoints and the SEC
Morris,
approves.
Charles,
Yes.
debating the NRM thing without understanding NRM is in vain. The assumption we make is that, you know, NRM came with the ideals you are espousing. These are Yoweri Museveni's times. As to when and how they change is a puzzle to us. The moment we don't accept that these are Museveni's times, we are going to keep yelling until we fail to get a solution. Whatever Museveni wants to happen in NRM will happen. Museveni is a dominant figure. And that one, and society is so complex. There are very many who are for Museveni, not because they believe, they don't even understand him. But you see, for them, this is the thing now. Now, the few elites like Bernard are troubled by those things. Maybe you leave it to fate. My problem is, even those who want to work against Museveni are not demonstrating that they have a difference from Museveni. People will say, why do you hate him, Baba? Not at all. How do you go with the people who want to change Museveni? The people are already vicious, are already malicious, are already angry, are already dangerous before they remove Museveni. And you are telling me that this is an option? You are running away from what you call a dangerous Museveni to already a group of people who are too dangerous, too much scheming, too much. I don't understand. So Museveni in Nambole is going to take it as an opportunity, first of all, to hammer home a point. This is the discipline I want in NRM. It's going to be a head boy. I don't want it. And they will say, yes, Muse. This kind of thing we don't want. Yes, Muse. Now from then onward, when they come to, yes, Muse. Then Baba said this, well, keep quiet. I'm telling you. It's the moment.
He wants to point all
for Museveni to reassert himself.
No.
Let Morrison respond to
No,
that.
I need to say that tomorrow at Nambo there is a very clear agenda.
Which agenda?
There is going to be a speech from the chairman of the party, who is President Museveni, which will be discussed. There will be a report from the Secretary General, acting Secretary, which will be discussed. There will be presentation of constitutional amendments that will be debated and voted on.
Morrison,
so it's a conversation.
Let me
It's
see
a
information,
discussion.
Morrison.
It is a
Where-
democratic
Where
process.
did you find
Yeah.
12,000 people discussing?
No. I mean,
Forum.
because you see the NRM has
let me
organ.
give you information.
Most of the key issues on the agenda have been sieved and discussed and debated through
This is
other
a
organs.
propaganda.
Sec did, yes.
Charles, let me tell you information.
It's very important.
This one is a PRO for the conference.
Yes.
So you go
Yes,
to
on the public
what
sector.
I'm giving.
what you are going to see in
I'm telling people
NRM
facts.
tomorrow in NRM tomorrow is friction coming from groups from regions. But about Museveni, you are going to see a deafening applause in Nambole. But
Yes.
like in Busoga, you are going
Applause
to
is
find
going to happen,
Kadaga
that's true.
group.
He's a popular leader.
You are going to find the Kadaga group fighting the chief whip who
they'll be
Kasule
fighting-
Kasule Lumumba,
Yes.
because Lumumba is not a Musoga, she's a Samia. You are going to see northern Uganda, somebody organizing against Todong is failing our party. You are going to find in Soroti Mukola pretending to be very alive. This is what you are going to see in Nambole. But when it comes to what Musei wants, the alpha male, my friend, Mbaba should rather keep quiet tomorrow.
You see,
I'm telling you,
we
all
need
that
to- we need
Chris
to
is
take a break.
describing
Can I pick this up?
is true. But to somehow, I don't think we should just reduce our public debate, political discourse, to this Museveni, the invincible and the whatever. There are other alternatives, and I think it's important to discuss those so people can see that there's a different way of doing politics.
Alternatives must emerge.
When I say alternatives, I don't mean alternative individuals.
saying
I mean alternative way of doing
Ideas,
politics.
where are they?
The alternative
way of doing
let
politics.
us not go with the Sejusas. Who swears by day?
No, absolutely
Let's go
not.
with the
Absolutely
hypocrisy.
not.
But when people say they are going to put alternatives, they do a Sejusa.
They do a Sejusa.
No, I didn't say alternatives in reference to individuals. Alternatives in reference to different ways of
when
doing
society
politics.
calls in a discussion, a national debate, national forum for the country, NRM sends Vix Kingo. Now, what are you talking about?
Let's take a break.
No, that was
Let's take a break and pick up this discussion in a moment. We'll be right back. A special on Sejusa, that's what Chris Obore is calling it.
Yes.
Because the Daily Monitor, where Chris Obore works, I have worked there, and Bernard worked there for many years, suffered a closure.
Worked there for 12 years.
12 years.
Yeah, for
2
12 years.
closures on my watch.
Yes, I
Quote,
have
unquote.
experienced 3 closures. I experienced three closures of the Monitor. 2002,
The
2005,
KFM as well.
and 2013. Especially Sejusa, because apparently Sejusa was looking for that letter that Sejusa allegedly wrote. And now he's back in Zimbabwe. He addressed the media. You might have seen in the news already.
But
He
the
addressed
monitor
media
should
today.
sue now.
He addressed the media
Inconvenienced
and
by-
said that he hasn't
Those are
lost
inconveniences of democracy.
he hasn't lost any
Daily.
of his ideals, that no one should closet him because of his conscience, and he said that democracy must be seen to function, and warned the government to watch how it is, the runners of this government, to watch how they are dealing with these questions of democracy. And the population said the population remains kind of agitated because of the mistakes being made. And he said his stand is still the same. From what we're hearing is that he has also refused so far to give a formal apology to President Yoweri Museveni and to the government for whatever he has said when he was away. The national
What apology would he really give other than being allowed to come home? They have done him a favor. Besigye came and was beaten. You know, you remember the Busega arrest?
I was there.
By the same person?
I was there.
Besigye came during the day, by the way. You could see the difference. Besigye arrived during the day. This one arrived in the wee hours. So there's a difference. You must understand.
The flight was coming from South Africa via Nairobi, and this one was coming from the UK.
Besigye came on his own volition.
No, actually, he came. He could have arrived there at any time. He came and landed in Nairobi and then crossed from Nairobi, came here. And people were receiving him. That was October 26th.
Who was receiving Besigye? The supporters. Who was receiving Sejusa? Bakahumura, Ronnie Balia, Felix Kawesi, Katumba Wamala. That's the difference, my brother. Maybe he was right that he was back from deployment, like UPDF troops in Somalia. There's always a commander receiving them back.
But they arrive in the day. I haven't seen the EPDF.
No, depends on what
soldiers
mission.
arriving.
Depends on what
This
mission.
was a high-class spy mission.
Let me ask
Cops.
let me ask the question. Bernard, what does this mean for people who expressed support for Sejusa? Because just the other day we saw a businessman called Buto being arrested, apparently for supporting Sejusa. We saw purges within the SFC, the UPDF, and very many people are being looked for about their alleged links to David Sejusa. There's a guy like Dr. Magombe. He's in
Vincent
London.
Magombe.
Vincent Magombe. He's in London. They had formed a committee.
Can I
working
make a
with
quick
Sejusa.
comment? The quick comment I want to make is that there is a tendency now in this country where you engage in criminality or suspected to be engaged in criminality, and to get off from it, you say, I have orders from above, you say, I was pressurized, you say, I support Sejusa, you say, there is this tendency, and I think we must understand it, and people must take accountability accountability should be to the holder, not to claim those superfluous and black cops kind of tendencies in order to get away with responsibility, in order to get away with the law.
What exactly are you saying in relation to what I just said?
Yeah, because some of those people could have claimed that they are being witch-hunted because they are Sejusa supporters, even when they have been
But they are young men.
when they have been engaged in real criminality. So I think each case should be looked at on its own merit. And there are so many people who say orders from above. I was.
Well, orders from above,
you know,
see them at
I was
Kololo.
pressurized to sign this document. You know those
Morrison,
tendencies.
Chris was at Kololo.
And I think it has to be understood.
Morrison,
You have a responsibility to partake.
You have a military truck.
You say orders from above.
Morrison,
I
listen,
was pressurized.
But Charles, just a second. A quick rider.
No.
It's because
No.
there's criminality in politics.
No.
So the difference between criminal activities and political activities is
to
blood.
get away from it. And I think Charles, as a very interesting journalist, and Chris as an investigative journalist, and as an intellectual, we need to investigate this.
Yeah.
This tendency to get away, by throwing away responsibility, orders from above. I have been pressurized to write this document in order to get away from your own responsibility. That scapegoatism that is happening in public officials, business people, and other private citizens is a very, very bad thing.
Can you listen for a moment then?
Yes.
Responsibility is what you see at Kololo. You have used military trucks to close off how many roads in Kololo?
And do you know why? 10,000 people converging in a place.
What is the military doing
in a space, in an era of global terrorism? Charles, you should be concerned that there is security. We should be relishing and celebrating in this security. Absolutely.
Charles, let me come back to. But I didn't make his point about what it means for these guys who have been working with Sejusa.
Well, I think they're conflicted. They must be thinking they were taken advantage of, and the point Chris made that they followed him, and the man has negotiated his return, and he's made in the VIP lounge in Entebbe. And this has happened actually before in Uganda, where if you take the UPDA back in the day, again, Saleh's name comes up, 1988, you have an understanding, but you're dealing with the top guys. The foot soldiers are not part of this settlement, and that partly actually allowed those foot soldiers who felt they had been left out to join the other rebel groups that kept coming up. So I think those, especially the young people that he's talking about, who are either in prison, who are out, are being harassed, are going to think and think again about the role that they were made to play, and that doesn't actually augur very well for Sejusa. But the broader point really is that I think people are going to be a lot more cautious in following some of these leaders, and I think maybe that's part of the grand strategy, is create that doubt amongst the population in following certain people who are, who come out feeling all macho and want to take on Museveni and all of that sort of thing, is make them to think again.
The same question to you. What happens to these supporters of Sejusa? The people who believed him.
Already they have suffered. Nobody will compensate for that. In politics, it is always the higher animals who get the benefits. Over time, they will be released, depending on how I compare Sejusa to a pregnant woman. Women who are pregnant, they suffer mood swings. She can tear your clothes. She can tell you to get out of home. You don't take her serious, because when she delivers, she will be the normal wife you have. So that's how Sejusa behaves with Museveni. Remember the first time, even he went to court. Kevin Aliro, the late, who was always getting exclusive from Sejusa. On a wedding of his daughter, he said, Muse, I was attacked by demons. He came back. I talked to Sejusa before he fled. I think I was speaking about the Mukura massacres, and then he called, talking to me. He's a very good, intelligent man when his moods are okay. Trying to challenge me. I told him, but I knew you when I was young. I was in primary. You came like this. There's a statement he made to me on why he went back, which I don't want to say in public, because at that time, it was not meant for public consumption. I don't want to break that trust. I'm a journalist. What they say is not for public, it's not for public. But what I learned from his statement is that they are not anchored on any principle. These guys actually believe Museveni is their leader, even those who disagree. They feel like the Manya Mushegas who have taken off genuinely believe that they knew Museveni. They didn't read him. But the soldiers, none of them, they look at him Muse. They began calling the man Muse when he was still a young man. Muse, because he was leading them. So, and Muse also, when he's dealing with them, he doesn't deal with them, it's like he's dealing with
Equals.
with the Koyelo. You know Koyelo. Koyelo, when he got his enemy, but Sejusa, and then the mother will go and say, your brother, he's only human. Now, the trouble with many people is to believe in those people when they come out. We know him. Next week is going to collapse. We know. If it was for us, why would be Museveni? By the way, Museveni has got his inherent qualities, his inherent abilities, good or bad, that have propelled him to be what he is. So nobody should come out and say, if it was not me, what is Museveni? Okay. You are lying. The way forward Bernard was talking about, there is another way to get out of Museveni. But the way we are using it now, Museveni throws you off guard. He tells you, my party is against sectarianism, against tribalism. But it is those very things that have kept Museveni very solid. If you started the regional parties in this country, the North must come as a bloc and they have a leader respected. The East as a leader, Museveni panics.
Just point of
but the most important thing Museveni does, no. We don't want that.
Point of information.
And every time you need someone to replace Museveni,
can you take the information?
It must be
just point of information.
Where he came from.
Point of information is that in the 2011 elections, President Museveni and NRM won across Uganda, northern Uganda, eastern Uganda, central Uganda,
contesting against who in those regions?
Where there was around
who had been for 40 years in exile.
Nobody was here. Has he ever been in exile?
If I can ask.
Across the country.
If you want to build leaders challenge Museveni,
outside of
build regional leaders.
So we cannot have tribal. We cannot have tribal and provincial political parties.
You see the point now.
We need nationalist political parties. Provincialism.
Why is Odinga important in the Kenyan politics?
No, provincialism and tribalism will take this country in a reverse gear, and we cannot accept.
Okay. Let me come back to you on this. Will Mbabazi step up to the podium tomorrow and actually provide command for his troops?
There's no way for me to know what will happen, and I think we all sit here and make all these assertive statements, but anything could happen. But I think what one seems to be hearing from his side is he may not step up at Nambole necessarily, but he might walk away and go somewhere, assuming he finds the platform, maybe go to Constitution Square or go to Kololo and announce that I'm leaving, I'm standing for president. I think some people are hoping for that. Now, whether it will happen, it's difficult to tell, but he should make an announcement, I think, tomorrow or Tuesday. And pretty much if he doesn't, that business of saying maybe wait for the next delegates conference, which will actually choose a leader, that will be too late. It's either now or never. He goes out on a limb, or he's done for. He ends up like Bidan Sali. I don't know why you're picking on Bidan Sali. He was powerful. He wasn't anywhere as close. He was but yeah, so we will see in the next 48 hours.
Okay, Charles, just a moment. Morrison, what to expect tomorrow? What happens tomorrow? For Museveni, the deal is done and sealed, isn't it?
Well, all I can say is that I have just been at Kololo crediting people. You could see the enthusiasm that they are relishing in the NRM political party. They love for President Museveni. So I do believe that tomorrow the decisions and the conversation are going to really favor most of the proposals that will be coming from the top organs, the SEC, the NEC, and of course the most important organ, which is the delegates conference tomorrow. It's more likely that most of the proposals are going to sail through, but there is going to be a debate, there is going to be a discussion. But what I just saw in Kororo is that really people still relish the leadership of President Museveni. And they still do believe he's the man to take.
So are you surprised forward, as party members and supporters that this discussion has been narrowed to President Museveni instead of the party?
No, because you see, President Museveni is the spokesperson. He's the most important. He's the chairperson. He's the articulator of the ideals, and he's the leader who has been elected on the principles of nationalism, non-sectarianism, Pan-Africanism, and he has, I think, led the country in a way that many Ugandans do believe is on the right path. There are still many challenges, but they still do believe that with President Museveni, those challenges can be overcome. Do you see? So he presents the most important hope.
And that's the reason you put up billboards advertising his candidature for 2016 in 2014.
No, well,
there's the huge billboard.
Those billboards have been actually erected by the supporters who relish who relish in his leadership, and you can't stop
I hope you can't stop
supporters.
Fees.
No, you cannot stop supporters from expressing their desire, expressing their admiration for President Museveni.
Okay.
That you cannot stop.
But I think, Charles, you touch on an important point there. They're just reducing an entire party to one person. It's one and the same.
I told no.
Museveni and NRM is one and the same. NRM and government is one and the same. And I don't know how genuinely you think this party will last post how long it will last.
NRM has
post
leaders.
Museveni.
I mean, all these leaders who are converging over Kororo to get accredited and relishing, and they will be tomorrow in Namboy. All these are leaders. They are LC chairpersons. They are district leaders. They are leaders at different levels. They are national leaders. They are members of parliament.
But there's only one leader who can say, I want to have a delegates conference in December and I'll find the money.
No.
Only one leader.
You need to look at the report for the roadmap.
Gentlemen, hold it. Chris there
that was delivered
has
in
been
July.
interacting with these leaders you're talking about.
Yeah.
He was there to see the delegates yesterday, and he's seen what is going on. So, Chris, what should we expect out of the NRM delegates conference tomorrow? Because much of the work was done by SEC yesterday. More of it is being done by NEC. What happens tomorrow? Do you think Mbabazi will step up and provide command for his troops?
So Mbabazi is a coward. It is people are pretending here that Mbabazi is a very strong man. With all of these things, in fact, I would rather Jacqueline takes command. But you are using Mbabazi. Jacqueline is more courageous as a commander, even if the war is a lost war. She at least tries to be that woman and hope. Those two, I give them respect. They are very vicious, they are very what, maybe they have mistakes. But they have political stature. They can maneuver Uganda. Building civil society here, hope using his approaches, Jacqueline. But Mbabazi is a coward. He likes ready-made things and then he takes over. I'm telling you, tomorrow it is going to be just an endorsement to the Mbabazi that please, you don't matter in this. You either told the line or ship out. That's the message going to happen to him. Because all the signs are there that this man, Mbabazi had built networks in the Arab world. Where has Museveni come back from? The Arab world.
Saudi Arabia.
When Kutesa was going to UN security, he said, this is a useless case. Kutesa has dismantled Mbabazi cells one by one. Now Mbabazi is left with home. Home, the Tumebazes, the Todwongs, they have dismantled slowly but surely. Now, this thing is just a slaughterhouse they are taking him. He may have remnants who talk about him, but there's nothing. I'm telling you. What it undid in Mbabazi is what we say in Teso when you are growing. Don't see a little girl when you are 17 years, 18. Don't look at a little girl of 5 years with a running nose and say, that's a girl. Those words can stick in her. Within 15 years, that girl is the jewel. And you are back on her knees pleading, I want you for my wife. That's what Mbabazi made. When he was growing with the Museveni, he was hammering the ordinary Ugandan. Is the same person today is wooing for his cause. And the memories are very fresh. So what politicians should do when they are acting is to be aware that politics is a dynamic game. Tomorrow you will need Morrison. Tomorrow you will need so and so. He missed the opportunity. The difference between Mbabazi and Sejusa is that Sejusa was very vocal. But they all have erratic behavior.
Our time is out. We need to get out of here.
This is a Sejusa special.
Yes.
There's no way you are going to cut us.
No. We've actually extended it.
We have not. We are still talking.
We extended it already. Our time is out. We need to get out of here.
So the delegates in Nambole, much as this person says is for NRM, the delegates have come for NRM, but mainly because NRM is offering 500,000. Don't mistake that a desire. Poverty has driven the people to come for money.
That's not true. It's a constitutional meeting. Every 5 years, according to NRM constitution, 2 meetings of the national delegates must be held, and this is one of them. And it was a recommendation of a report of the Electoral Commission of the National Resistance Movement that recommended that this meeting must happen this December.
How much are you paying the delegates?
500,000. You tell them there's 50,000.
No, there is nothing wrong with that.
They will not come for 50,000.
It's their own money. They contribute it from friends all over the world, so there is no problem. But what I can tell you, is that it's a constitutional meeting and it's a recommendation of that report headed by Uganda that actually among others participated in. So it's a constitutional meeting.
Our time is out. We need to get out of here. Last word, Bernard.
It's constitutional.
Yeah, I think Mbabazi is to watch whether he's slaughtered as Chris says. We'll wait to see. But my sense is that he will actually walk out of the party and then announce that he's
and that will
going
be
for
the beginning of his ordinarization.
But
Bernard,
I would love to take a bet with you. When a leader storms out of a meeting,
I don't Don't take
and
bets.
then immediately sends a message and say, I did not storm out. I asked the chairman and walked out.
He's a coward. If it was Jacqueline, she would say I walked out.
Since February, either you would have said, I walked out, or you keep quiet and allow the debate to continue. But since February, I have been looking for Mbabazi to provide leadership to his troops. And I think they have been left scattered. If Jacqueline wasn't holding them together.
Is he doing it on Twitter?
Our time is out, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
That's where it's at.
Well, I believe that for the first time,
competence is in Twitter.
General David Sejusa is watching this show from right here at home. And I believe Mama Mbabazi is also watching, and the delegates have been watching, as well as President Museveni. So they will share with us.
We wish you well,
we will
be
be watching how the politics gets maneuvered.
Be
and
honest leaders.
Be honest leaders, not players after getting rich.
Our time is out. Thank you very much to all our viewers. Have a good night.